We have been exploring the universe for a very long time, and we have created a wide variety of spacecraft. Everything has a role in space exploration, from the first, modest satellites to the International Space Station and eventual interstellar ships. And today we're going to look more closely at the many kinds of spacecraft you should be aware of. Do you require answers to the important queries? Then why not join Zeey to see more videos like this one and ring the bell for more inspiring material. 8 different categories of spacecraft, including flyby spacecraft like the Mariner and New Horizons probes and observatory spacecraft like the Hubble and James Webb Space Telescopes, are listed by NASA. In essence, everything that travels into space qualifies as a spaceship, even if its only objective is to observe distant objects while remaining in orbit. Iterating on already existing vehicle types or coming up with whole new ones, we're constantly coming up with new methods to explore the solar system and the universe. Furthermore, science fiction has provided NASA's real-life engineers with a ton of ambitious goals to strive towards by imagining hypothetical spacecraft that humans could utilize to go to other stars. But how realistic are these futuristic vessels? And what space solutions are the various space organizations across the world examining right now? A spacecraft with ion propulsion is one of the most cutting-edge designs that is soon to be available. This form of propulsion uses an ion thruster, where the push is produced electrically by accelerating ions. An atom that has more electrons than protons and a net negative charge is known as an ion. Ion engines are fantastic because they already exist and have been used by NASA for many years. Ion thrusters were used by both the Deep Space 1 and Dawn probes, both of which were launched in 1998 and 2007. The more recent Double Asteroid Redirection Test, or DART, which utilized NASA's evolutionary xenon thruster, often known as NEXT, performed the same thing. Ion thrusters may run on locally generated electricity, whether it comes from solar panels or another source, and are a clean, effective means to propel a spaceship. Given that they will need to exercise on lengthy space trips anyhow, astronauts aboard an ion-powered ship may even generate electricity themselves through workout equipment. Ion thrusters have the drawback of being incredibly weak. In fact, they are so weak that they are unable to produce any appreciable thrust inside the Earth's atmosphere. They can also create extremely fast travel, but getting to those high speeds can take some time. This means that while ion thrusters are good for lengthy trips, they must be used in conjunction with other, perhaps less eco-friendly, forms of propulsion to depart Earth's atmosphere or any other planet's atmosphere. Therefore, at the moment, they are only actually employed on small things, like probes, and only after those probes have already been sent into space using a conventional rocket. However, a different, far more imaginative propulsion method may be on the horizon soon. Warp drives are one of those things that theoretically could exist, but don't as of now. Warp drives and wormholes both seem to be possible according to Einstein's field equations. But for a very long time, it was believed that it might be difficult to really construct one. A massive fuel source would be needed for a warp drive, and only exotic stuff was supposed to be suitable. It suffices to remark that we haven't yet found the unique material that could complete the task. However, fresh data presented in recent years by experts suggests that there is a technique to construct a warp drive without exotic matter. This has completely disproved all prior warp drive theories, including the Alcubierre drive, and some people now think that a new design would be feasible right now. There are still some difficulties to be resolved. First of all, such an engine would still require a tremendous amount of power, and it would be difficult to constantly produce that amount of power. Then perhaps we require more developments in nuclear fusion technology. Thankfully, we currently possess them. 2 atomic nuclei are fused into one during nuclear fusion. It is the opposite of nuclear fission, which is how conventional nuclear reactors operate and also how stars produce so much energy. For a long time, tokamaks devices that employ magnetic fields to keep plasma stable as it's heated to tremendous temperatures have been the most promising method of producing nuclear fusion on Earth. Tokamaks have not yet achieved break-even, or the point at which they are producing equal to or more than what is being put into them. However, a different kind of fusion reactor, the Livermore, California-based National Ignition Facility, has achieved and surpassed this requirement. In a trial, it produced more power output than input on December 5, 2022. Even so, it will be a while before this technology is actually utilized in spacecraft, though warp drives may one day be powered by it. Of course, there are still more issues to solve, like the fact that a warp drive probably wouldn't be very accurate. Using one would make it very simple to overshoot or undershoot your goal, maybe by enormous distances, as it would be possible to go faster than superluminal speeds without breaking the laws of physics. Because of this, considerable advancements in computation are also required before warp drives can be used in real-world applications. However, what about even stranger spacecraft? There are machines that many people already claim to exist and even claim to have encountered, but science is still unable to explain them. People have been reporting weird aerial occurrences for many years, frequently in the shape of flying saucers. These are the most recognizable alien spacecraft and the prototypical UFO. However, how might a flying saucer function, and are people near to creating one? As bizarre as they are, it's amazing how many engineers, including some who work for NASA, have tried to develop one over the years and decades. In reality, NASA has developed a launch vehicle with a saucer-like shape called the Low-Density Supersonic Decelerator that should assist humanity in exploring and navigating Mars in the near future. In the middle of the 2010s, it underwent its first test. The LDSD is intended to make return to the Martian environment simpler and safer, despite the fact that it appears somewhat odd. A valuable tool for lunar exploration has also been proposed in the form of theoretical flying saucer designs. MIT researchers think that a flying saucer powered by a tiny ion engine would be helpful in traveling to the moon. A light enough item might be propelled into the air by an ion drive on the moon due to its far lower gravity, and floating across the moon's numerous craters might be quicker and easier than driving rovers over it. But the extremely mobile saucer-shaped UFOs that are the stuff of science fiction are still implausible. We don't really have a method for producing vertical propulsion like that. But in order to glimpse the stars, we don't actually need an advanced propulsion system. There are ways to get around this, and if we wanted to, we could send a lot of people into space very soon. The only issue is that most of them wouldn't ever come back. Generation ships are another option for overcoming the vast expanses of space that are being discussed here. Humans on generation ships would have to grin and bear huge distances rather than trying to find a way around them. They would have to knowingly consent to the idea of spending the remainder of their lives in spaceflight. If they had children, those kids might have spent their entire lives there as well. Even getting to adjacent exoplanets could take years or even millennia if traveling in this manner. Better radiation protection would be necessary, along with bigger ships so people wouldn't feel cramped, as well as a way to grow food nearby. However, it wouldn't need anything that goes beyond the capabilities of physics. Some people believe that if we had to, we could complete all of these tasks relatively rapidly. Sending people off aboard spacecraft like these may also be the greatest method to ensure the survival of our species if something were to happen to Earth. Finally, the other generation ship would be one that is currently out of reach like our other craft. People wouldn't have to live and die for years on an enclosed spacecraft if we included some form of stasis technology like cryosleep, because they could just wake up when they reached their destination. However, even if research into cryogenics is being done, we are still a long way from developing a method for reawakening a person who has been frozen in place. So, even though the future is still somewhat far off, this one is another for the future. In general, as we advance as a species, we'll need to constantly coming up with new, better, and more fascinating ways to travel through space. It might possibly become necessary in the future to leave Earth and travel to other planets. Are we prepared? Because those are some of the various types of spacecraft you should be aware of. At least the plans are in place. How do you feel? Do you think we missed anything? Please share your thoughts in the comments, watch other additional Zeey videos, and subscribe to receive notifications of our newest posts.